I have a bag of images that I just like keep around. You know, if I see new things, I cut them out and use them. You know, I found this like 1980s 90s Barbies ad that I kept. I just a bunch of random things. So I highly suggest that you spend all of Friday just going through magazines and collecting images. You know, you can cut them out and get them all nicely cut out and ready to use. And then you have what you need. This here is like a peacock feather pattern. When I taught, when it says on that list that I showed you to use different textures and patterns, even if you're not going to use a whole image, it's a really good idea to just find like things that you can layer in later. Like if you just are like, oh, well, there's an empty part of my collage that needs something, you could use peaches in the background. You could use the peacock feathers in the background. You could use flowers in the background. So there's no wrong or right. I found this little cocktail here. Wow, I have a lot of good stuff in here right now. I'm impressed by this this collection I've got going. So you can also use words. We talked about appropriation. We talked about text and image. You're welcome to go further with that, okay, and use some words with it. All right, so I've got my images here. I'm going to show you. I'm fancy, and I have this really cool set that I got on Amazon, and I think it was only like $12. I want to say it's on my list on the main Schoology page if you want to look at it. But I like having X-Actos around. They're convenient. And then I have this tracing mat right here. This is self-healing. So I think I showed you this before. So we're going to do a remove and replace first. How to remove and replace is you find something. Well, I thought I could use that one. Dang it, that would have been a good one to use. Perfect. I got this weird Gucci ad here. I'm going to remove the people's heads. I don't know what I'm going to replace them with yet. I'm just going to remove them. This is how fast you can do collage. And then you can go back and, you know, get the finer details in later. But I am removing these people's heads because I don't need them. Maybe I could replace it with another image. Or maybe I could just draw my own alien heads. Maybe I could give them flowers for heads. I don't know. What do you think? Aliens or flowers? Put it in the chat. Flower head or alien heads? Flowers? Okay, we'll do that. Well, that's easy because I have a bunch of flowers over here that I can afford to lose. So I am removing and replacing these people's heads. Ooh, I have this blossom word too. I'll leave that in there too. Might be good. So that's how you remove and replace. It's that simple. You take something out and you make it into something else. Where did all those other flowers go? This is the problem when you have too many images. Oh, those flowers won't work. The other cool thing that I have for cutting is I have these scissors, which I'm going to try to get some when we get back to the class. They have a shorter stem, but it allows you to have more, your whole hand can fit in this, and then you can have more control over what you're cutting. So I use that, these just about as often as I use my cutting mat. So I would probably just cut this out and then go back and take the cutting mat and make it like trimmed up and not as ugly, but you'd have these two people's heads together. And all right, cool. Remove and replace, number 1. Done. That's simple. The second thing you could try is to shatter something. My mom is calling me right now. She knows I'm teaching. Shattering is kind of fun. It's a little more time consuming than this would be. I'm going to cut this lady out here. And if I were cutting this out for like a nice piece on this paper here, I would take her on the green board and cut it out really precisely. But for the sake of what we're doing right now, a shatter is simply taking something and cutting it up into different pieces and making more meaning from that, you know, contorting something in a way that's not, you're losing this, aren't you? Let's see. All right, so I shattered her. I'd probably go on further, cut some other images out, draw in between these lines here, or do like a metallic paint pen and maybe have some splattering come out. That's a shatter. You could shatter even more. I showed you some other images that were really shattered, and I'll go back to those at the end of this so you can see that. Changing the scale is pretty simple too. So I'll use my super cool Barbie in her Ferrari image. And I'm looking for an image that it doesn't really make sense next to, like she's driving somewhere that she shouldn't be. And we got it. A person's. So I would probably go further and like just cut this person out here and make like a road kind of going over this person's face or something. But these are two totally different scales. This visually, it doesn't make sense. A Barbie driving on top of a person's face. So changing the scale is all about creating visual confusion, which you've seen in a lot of the collages that we've already done. All right. And then the last one is mixing your sketches and drawings. And that's something I'm actually, I don't think I'm going to demo that. I think we've hit a point where you've heard all the talking and done all the talking you can do for today. So that is just as simple as going through your sketchbook and maybe finding some images that are worth revisiting. There's Fat Baby. So I have this one that I could go back to and maybe add a bunch of collage to it, or cut out some of the elements and add those to my collage. So that's a possibility, is to revisit your old images. Or let's say you're like, drawing this image here and you want to create additional artwork. So then you would cut this out precisely and then paste it in here. And I want to show you one last thing. And that is how to actually use glue or your acrylic gel gloss medium. You're going to want a paintbrush, preferably flat, but whatever you have will work. And make sure, this is good, that you clean it out super well after you use gel or glue, because it makes the bristles stick together a lot, which is not good. But acrylic gloss gel, you have this, it's labeled gel medium. I think maybe only one or two of you did not get it in your bag because we literally ran out at the end, but you can use glue in the same way. You just mix glue with a little bit of like water, a tiny bit, to make a little bit more jelly than gluey. But you're going to take it on your paintbrush. And this is a kind of a big image. So I'm going to just like paint around the back of it a little bit. I'm not really going to worry about getting in the holes because it doesn't matter anyway. So I'm going to just kind of get it on here pretty fast. It's a big image. Smaller images you can go a little bit slower on when you're putting it on there, but okay, that's good. We'll fix the rest later. All right, so when you adhere magazines, sometimes you get this like awful bubbling. A way that you cannot get the bubbling is use something that's flat to flatten it out, like I'm about to do. Now, if you have ever taken ceramics, you've had one of those like things that flattens out clay. That will work. If you have one of those, you could use that. Anything that's flat and hard. So you might have to do a little bit of looking around your house if you want to do this. But I got this at Target for like, I don't know, $2. It was like part of a craft kit and it was a one-time thing. I've never found these again. So you're going to take it and start, instead of using your hand and getting your hand dirty, you're going to use this thing, whatever flat piece you got, and you're going to flatten it out that way to prevent wrinkles, lumps, things that don't really look super visually pleasing. So this is a much better, effective way, is to find something hard that you don't mind getting it dirty, because there's some gel that actually got onto the top of it there, but that's okay. I'm just going to wash it off when I'm done. And it doesn't matter if gel gets on the top of my page here, because I like to secure the top of my collages with more gel. So what I mean by that is, I'll get this in. I like to go over top of everything again to create this like layer of, it's just a transparent layer, very thin, but enough that it kind of creates a little bit of a finished effect. It might even make it look like it's a painting, you know, you might be able to trick people for a moment. But you can use glue in the same way. Instead of using glue like you're probably used to as a little kid, you know, you just squeeze it out of the bottle and smooth it down and then hope that it comes out right and not too bubbly. That's the little kid way of using glue. This is sort of the, you know, adult professional way of that you can use glue or any types of gloss or gel. If you have Mod Podge at home, that's a really great one to have. And I will tell you that the dollar store in Ann Arbor, the one off Washtenaw, has a really great art selection. Like they actually, like if you go to the art selection in that store, they have little bottles of Mod Podge and all kinds of bottles of paint, palettes. So there's like tons of stuff there that you could go there and probably get a lot of this stuff. They even have like cheap brushes too. So if you want Mod Podge, dollar store on Washtenaw definitely has that. And Mod Podge is pretty much the same thing as acrylic gel gloss. Now you'll notice that that just flipped over. I overworked it. It's too wet right now. I'm going to leave it alone. All right, makes it look a little more interesting. And then I can layer on there as needed. That's just the first layer. I'm going to make sure all of my lines are uniform and they're not like, you know, just random. But there we go. That's the startings of a collage. More to come, I guess. I guess I'll be working off of this one now, and I'll finish this for next week for you all too. All right, lots of stuff. Questions can go in the chat now. I am going to stop recording and then answer any last minute questions and let you go.